So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, if you ever wondered why love is not what you imagine it to be, why it's hurt, why it's so intense, why it creates regrets, why it creates resentment, maybe this video will help you. I want to start with saying that we all are different on the level of personalities, and from deep perspective, it is decided, and it has been practiced at the times of the Prophet ﷺ, that we are either phlegmatic, choleric, melancholic, phlegmatic, melancholic, choleric, or sanguine. Okay. And if you want to read more, find out more about those personalities, I refer you to my book, Islamic Self-Development. There is a full chapter exploring why, the reasons why we struggle at levels of love, but also at levels of general personal development. That's what this book is about. So, if you are sanguine, you really need love. Like you subconsciously are driven by need of being loved. You subconsciously are driven by a fear of being alone. And how it translates to is that you are actually giving so much love to others, human beings, others, other creatures. You fight for the rights, you fight for the comfort, you have so much empathy. Everyone loves you in return, so you don't give them chance not to love you back, right? And that is the subconscious trick that you're playing. However, deep down in yourself, you are driven by psychological need of belonging, of being appreciated, of being loved, actually, of being accepted, right? This is the biggest pain you're having in your life. And how does this translate into relationships which are not going right? Well, you might be too dependent on someone, or you might overdoing it, and in a simple words, maybe you're not receiving as much as you are giving, and that creates a fatigue. Love fatigue, meaning you are not not balancing well in this relationship. Therefore, you are much of the giver, not much of the receiver, and that creates resentment, but also burnouts. Okay. And now, if you are melancholic, you are also dependent, just like phlegmatic, but in a different way. So in Islamic psychology, even Sunnah, even Qaim and Ghazali, all those great names, all those great sages, they wrote much about drives at the level of our nafs. And this is a language which you don't use anymore, but in psychology, we use psychological needs language. So what are the psychological needs, right, or nafs, drives for melancholics? Well, melancholics are absolutely scared that they're going to be betrayed, that they're going to be belittled, that they're going to and in our community, that's, wives, they scared that a husband is going to find another wife, but they are not going to be good enough. So how they compensate for that? They organize their life. They are meticulous in organizations. Like if you go to somebody's house, you know that they're melancholic because everything is not only clean, but also really, really organized. So if you look in the cupboards with spices, everything is not only topped up, but also not only clean, but also it has labors to it. So you can get lost in melancholic's house or in melancholic's job. They are the greatest administrators out there, but they're doing it for the reason, because that's what creates stability in their life. That's how they attain predictability. And as you can imagine, in relationships, when they are, I'm sorry, but controlling and over organizing and over depending, right? That creates pathology, maybe even going into OCD, like obsessiveness about details, about knowing, obsessiveness about having access to information. That can even follow up with jealousy. If not jealousy, then it can go even pathologize even further into what? Well, into spying. yeah, and not trusting. So that is what's underneath beautiful heart of melancholic, who's trying to cover his insecurities and vulnerabilities with over organizations, with over controlling, with paying too much attention to details. How about phlegmatics? Phlegmatics are really trustable people in relationships. You love being in phlegmatic because you can trust on phlegmatics. Phlegmatics also, they over concentrate on children, on the spouse. They don't invest enough in themselves, which creates being overburdened or burnout, but also feeling of unappreciated. That's very similar like sanguine, giving, and you're not receiving enough. So if phlegmatics are not being pampered, if phlegmatics are not being pampered with words of appreciation or gifts or gestures of appreciation, then that creates resentment, and phlegmatics going inside the man cave, they closing off, they stopping their services basically, and they're developing, I would say, even depression. And it's difficult not to blame another person. So that's why if you are with phlegmatic and you are that other person, you need to know that compliments and appreciation, words of appreciation and acts of service are what phlegmatics needs. So what drives phlegmatic is the need to have their family safe, and they very often forget about themselves. And if they are pathologizing this relationship, if it's not balanced, there's not enough give and there's not enough take, then they're closing off, and they suffer with deep depression, and also they withdrawing themselves, man cave phenomena. What about cholerics? It's so difficult to be with cholerics. It's really impossible. And you probably know a lot about cholerics nowadays because they also exist under another terminology called narcissism. So cholerics, they're very powerful in the way they wearing masks. We all wearing masks. You heard about mask for sanguine, phlegmatic, and melancholic. Now, what is the mask for choleric? So cholerics, they had that everyone will notice that they're not capable. So they have that inner vulnerability about self-esteem, and about and all they are about is showing others that they're capable. That is how they rebuilding their strength, their resilience through external validation. And they so dependent on external validation, admiration, but also respect, and in certain very pathological circumstances, fear, that they forgetting about relationship itself. They're having such a strong egoistic relationship with the ego, which is actually driven by low self-esteem, because they think that underneath all of that, they think that not capable. They have doubts about their capacities, their abilities, their skills, and so forth, that they are reinvesting themselves from relationship with others, and they over-investing themselves in relationship with the ego, and they are completely withdrawing, and they are over-criticizing another person. So how to be with choleric is very similar to how it is with sanguine. It's about appreciation, it's about validation, but unfortunately as well, patient teaching them how to come back, how to reignite relationship skills, because that is very difficult for cholerics. Being so far away from their own reality, they definitely cannot find themselves in reality of another person. There's a very lonely place to be with cholerics if they are at their worst. But if they are at their best, subhanAllah, cholerics are the biggest influences. That's the famous way, the new era way to describe them. And they will definitely invest and encourage and push another person, put their spouse to achieve their highest potential, because they've got that power in them once they work on their stuff. So this is it. That's why love goes wrong for majority of us, because first of all, we don't know what drives us, and second of all, we don't know how to express it to another person. And if you are the other person and you don't know what drives you and you don't know what drives another person, then definitely a miscommunication. So this is it. The theory of of temperaments, of constitutions is has always been there, always been practiced. Now we call it personality theories, and there's more like famous, big five, coming up and being used right now. It's on the tongue of all of the psychologists. It's always been there, but the beauty of the holistic approach, the naturopathic approach, or TIP approach, going back to ancient Greeks, we know that this personality will not only affect how you think, how you feel, but also how you create relationships, and that translates into how you mess up or you build up on quality of relationships, and you keep the love going. So I hope that helps. There's so much more to talk about love, really. But for now, I encourage you to sign up for my YouTube channel, AJS Therapy, and stay tuned for weekly updates, inshallah. I encourage you to reach out to this chapter in my book about it. There's so much more about you written there, Islamically inspired self-development, and work with me if you feel that you need support. And I offer 24/7 support in my coaching group. If you feel that you need grow, if you feel that you have a need to grow in community and within safe, clinically proven environment, then reach out and book free consultation with me. It's that simple. I see you next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh for now.